Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to BipolarLines, the podcast where two spouses talk about navigating life, loving someone with bipolar disorder. I'm Brooke.
And I'm Laura, and today is all about depression.
Oh, the love of a depressive episode. But before we dive in to this topic, how are you, Laura? How have you been?
Oh yeah, I'm good. I'm busy. I've been so busy. Just the time change too has been just messing with me, but then also
Yeah.
with Cody. Like
Mm-hmm.
he even said, it's like you finally get in a routine, and then it's just like even if it's just an hour, it messes with you. Do you guys find the
Yeah.
same thing?
Yes, indeed. It's hard to adjust, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I want to circle back to what we talked about the last time relative to his truck incident. He hasn't moved into
Oh,
an
yes.
episode,
So,
has
yeah,
he?
so far so good. It actually went off really smooth. The woman that hit him just called her insurance right away, admitted fault, and they're already got it's set up to get fixed and where it goes. And
Nice.
so I think because it went so smooth, he'll get a rental car. So yeah, knock on wood, everything
I
is
love
going
that.
okay with that. Yes, thank you.
Yay. Perfect. I was nervous, but I hadn't received a text from you saying, "Oh no, Brooke," or anything. So I was just like, I'm not putting anything out into the world. I'm just going to let that be. Let it be.
Right. Yes,
That's
I
awesome.
appreciate that. It's always a concern, honestly.
Yes, for sure. For sure. Anybody that's watching YouTube, real quick, using a background because life is a mess right now. So if I'm glitching out, it's the background. We're just going with it.
We're
So
going with it. It's
sorry.
fine.
What were you saying?
I said, how is Jeremy doing?
Well, we got results back that he does not have an adrenal gland tumor. So that's good news,
Okay, yay,
right?
that is good news.
It doesn't give us an answer as to what's happening with
Right, it's
him.
just like another ruling out.
Yes, we are back to the drawing board. So he's still having these attacks. We're going to call them like it's kind of like an adrenal attack that's happening. And the medicine that he's been taking to stave off, him not being able to hold any food down is kind of not working as well now. So there's that element. But he goes back in for testing on, I think it's Tuesday. Yeah, it's Tuesday. So that's kind of the same. So that's that
Okay.
element. I think he may possibly potentially be showing symptoms of the flu currently.
Oh no.
So that's fun.
Yeah.
Um, but other than that, he is seemingly about the same status quo. He just said, I don't know, 20 minutes ago, something's got to give, which I get it. This has been going on for so long. And he does not deal well with physical ailments.
Yeah.
And he would tell you the same. He does not, he just doesn't handle it well. We all get over it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that aspect of it. So I think mentally he's doing a really good job of managing expectations and emotions, and considering we still don't have answers. I'm super proud of him for doing that. He did change his therapy schedule, so he's seeing his therapist every 2 weeks instead of once a month. Since
Okay.
all of this kind of happened, I was super proud of him for that
Yeah,
because
that's super proactive and smart.
yes, so that has been very helpful. And then I had to go in my sleep and apparently tear my meniscus in my good knee. I've had
What? No
surgery.
way.
Yeah,
Mm.
I had surgery twice on my left knee, and this is my good knee. And I woke up last Saturday, it was just kind of hurting, and I was like, maybe I just slept on it wrong. It's
Mm-hmm.
fine. It's fine. I rest. I elevated. I iced. I did all the things Saturday, and when I woke up Sunday, could not bear weight. Like it was buckling every time I tried, and it's so
Oh,
painful.
Brooke, no.
So I was like, y'all. I mean, can we just I need a bubble. I need. So yeah. Now I'm down to one crutch right now. I only have one crutch, which is
Ah,
fantastic.
that is good, but
Because
still,
yeah,
you
I
have to have
can't use
surgery
two
on it?
crutches. I can't use two crutches because I had surgery
Oh,
on this
yes, you just had
wrist.
that surgery.
So
Oh my goodness.
it's
I'm
been a
so
kind of a
sorry to hear
mess.
that. Do you have to have surgery on it?
depending upon the severity of the tear, it will absolutely require surgery.
Oh,
But I'm hopeful that I got a steroid injection last
oh,
Monday.
good. Yeah.
That's the only reason that I'm down
That'll
to
at
one
least curb the
crutch.
pain for a little bit.
Yes. And
Short-term solution, but still helpful.
yes, exactly. I feel like I don't know, for the last couple of days, I'm like, every morning I wake up, I'm like, okay, it's a little better. It's a little better. But my body's never really done that before. So it's a weird thing for me. Usually if I get the steroid injection, it either works or it doesn't. Like there's no changing for that.
Oh, interesting.
But this time around, it's like, okay, we'll see. We'll see what's happening. But yeah, so we're just falling apart over here
Oh,
physically. And I'm like, I'm
no.
not even 40, y'all. Come on.
I
So
know.
yeah,
Getting
that's my
old is
world.
so fun.
I'm so excited. Not at all. But that's all right.
I was talking on another where was I doing? I guess I did a TikTok where I mentioned this, but um this idea that we have to find balance sometimes I think stresses us out more than just kind of going through a hard season of life because you're just
Right?
going to have hard seasons sometimes. And if you have, I feel like sometimes, yes, it's important we find balance. It's important we take care of ourselves. We did a whole podcast on that.
Yep.
um, but it's also important to realize I said in my TikTok, some seasons just don't have balance and it almost makes me stress out worse. It's like worse for my mental health to be chasing balance that just in this season is just not there right now. And
That's a
sometimes
very
that's
good
just how it
point.
is.
That's a very good point. That hits a little close to home right now, Laura. Yeah.
No.
I like it because as much as I'd like for things to be balanced, they're just not going to be.
Yeah.
They're just not going to be right now. And I think over the years, Jeremy and I have had a very good, like, we'll call it like flow of, hey, I can't handle this right now. I've had surgeries, I've had this, that, the other, and he's been able to, right the ship. And then with his episodes, he's not able to right the ship, but that's actually been when I'm seemingly well, which is weird to me. Me and Addie were talking about that the other day. I was like, why does my body give out like November, December, January, February, and March? Like that is when all of my ailments happen. When I've had surgeries, it's during that time, except for one knee surgery, which was in June. But like I lost my hearing in March.
Oh my
This
goodness.
knee went out and it's March. I had my surgery in December because I couldn't pick up a pencil in December. So it was, or November. So like, I don't know what that is, but here I am. So I don't expect
Wow, that's
balance
really interesting.
necessarily, but I would really like balance. All right, we ready to dive into a bipolar depressive episode? Where to start? I think I want to make something clear right out of the gate, which is like a bipolar depressive episode is not the same as major depression. It's not the same as being depressed, like clinically diagnosed as having depression. It's not the same thing. It's under a similar umbrella, right? But it is categorically different in that it is underneath the bipolar diagnoses. I think it's important to start with the emotional symptoms of a depressive episode. Those could be easily masked. And again, I think we've talked about this before, but from my perspective, I feel like there is a scale of depression, very similar to mania, hypomania, like they can kind of titrate up, so to speak, in that manic episode, and then they're no longer available to you, right? So with depression, I feel like it's very, very similar. It can hit and they can start feeling it. And then over time, it evolves into this feeling of complete emptiness. And it's deeper than just feeling sad. I think people who don't have a clear understanding or they're not educated about depression in general will categorize being depressed as, oh, I'm so sorry, you're so sad. And I want to correct a lot of people when they do that, but I also understand they're just trying to, show sympathy. But it is a hollowness, like an emptiness to the person. The person feels empty. And I would say we could equate it to, have you ever done that? And if you're not watching us on YouTube, stay with me, visualize it. It's called the finger test, where you do this and you have somebody else run your finger over it, and you can feel one part of the finger, like somebody else's fingers here, and you can feel it on yours. Obviously, you can't feel the other person's finger. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I've never seen this.
So it'd be like this. My pencil is the other person's finger, right? Or I can just use this. But anyway, I can feel my finger, but obviously can't feel the feelings of the
Oh,
pen,
right, right.
right? This is what bipolar depression feels like. Hollow.
Oh,
It's
wow,
like
that's a really
nothing's
good
there.
visual.
Nothing's there. I can feel it over here.
Yeah,
Nothing's there.
yeah.
And that, I think that's a good representation of that emptiness, right? But also, depression isn't just about feeling emptiness. It can grow into something where you feel so empty that it can become super dangerous, right?
Yes.
So you start off sad, you start off, hollow-ish. You don't want to participate in the things that you typically participate in. You don't want to engage in social interactions because it's exhausting. And this is just a
Mm-hmm.
very short summary out of the gate. But over time, that evolves into, I can't get out of bed, right? I don't want to get out of bed, because if I get out of bed, then I have to do XYZ. I can't do XYZ. I don't have the energy to do XYZ, whatever that may be in your household. And my husband has referred to it as, I feel like I'm walking in mud up to my waist.
Mm.
Like it requires so much effort to
Mm-hmm.
take that next step, right? And then you move forward into, feeling emotionally numb, which would be this analogy, the hollow, the numbness, or detached. And again, moving into like suicidal ideations, intrusive thoughts, self-harm actions, things of that nature. So I think that covers, guilt. Guilt's another one. Guilt's a big one. I think that covers like the bigger umbrella of emotions tied to a depressive episode. What do you think, Laura?
Yeah, I feel like you have more experience with this because Jeremy has more experience with this.
Sure.
As I've said before, Cody kind of lives on the manic side of life, more so.
Right.
And he has had, within the last 5 years, a major depressive episode, but it was almost like I would just say he stayed in that hollow zone. So he's never really gone to that like suicidal place,
Mm-hmm.
knock on wood. But it was 8 months of hollow. Like I called it a cardboard
Cardboard
cutout.
cutout. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just it felt like he was there, but like not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a cardboard cutout makes a lot of sense, so people can recognize that for sure. And
Mhm.
yeah, Jeremy stays more on the depressed side of life as far as episodes go. Now, that didn't used to be the case. I want to make that clear.
Mhm.
His diagnosis occurred back in 2018, I believe. But we experienced more manic episodes before he was diagnosed than anything.
Mhm.
After diagnosis, that changed. Now he lives way more on the depressed side of life when he is in an episode. So, um, yeah, I'm trying to give you an example. There have been times when my husband says like, I'm feeling kind of low. Now, let me preface that by saying too that my husband has an enormous amount of self-awareness when he is not fully in an episode. Okay, so when he's feeling a little off, he recognizes it because he can see what he's doing. He checks in with himself, kind of thing. So he'll tell me like, I'm feeling a little low. That's kind of uh, our check-in, our baseline check-in. Like, ooh, okay, so he's not feeling baseline and he's trending down. We're trending towards a depressive episode, right? He'll say, I'm just feeling a little low. I'm feeling a little down. So for me, that's a okay, we have this container, and we just put a marker in that says we're feeling a little low. We're not in a depressive episode yet, but we could easily trend, to that episode if things don't kind of, as you refer to, balance out, right? So that's something to, number one note would be, if they tell you they're just feeling a little down. If your person is unable to communicate with you how they're feeling, I think these are the signs that you're going to see. Okay. So you're going to have them isolate more, meaning they're going to be taking more time to themselves than they are being with you, the spouse, mom, dad, sister, brother, family member, right? They're not going to be wanting to have those conversations and engage, or with their kids as often. They're going to want to just be alone. So yeah, they want to isolate. Isolating makes a lot of sense when you're talking about depression, but it can be very problematic if it gets out of control, because during isolation, in my experience, then comes the intrusive thoughts. The more time they are alone, the more time they have to make this jump, this black and white thinking of, my family's better off without me because I'm not doing anything to support them, to contribute to anything. And clearly they're doing fine without me. And all I'm doing is I'm just creating more and more of a burden. So it just perpetuates that narrative. So be mindful of isolation. Oh, there's so much I have to say on this topic. Diving in. All right.
Yes, keep going. This is good.
Okay, so you got the isolation. I also think that your person and bipolar depression specifically, there are telltale signs of isolation, and it's that your person will pick the same place to isolate. It becomes like their safe place. Okay, whether it's the bed, a couch in a specific room, a garage to sit and tinker in, do stuff in, or literally just sitting in a camping chair, right? And they'll just sit there for hours on end. Okay. That's very, very indicative of isolation. And isolation comes with irritability. So the more and more the person isolates, the more and more, concerned loved ones become for them isolating. So we tend to check in more, whether that's going into the bedroom and sitting on the bed, checking in, pulling up a camping chair in the garage, and just trying to engage with the person. They become more irritated. The reason is, from my perspective, that has become their safe space. They're not held accountable or responsible to anybody in their safe place because they've been solo in it. They've been isolating. And now you're coming in and you're doing the right thing, right? But you're invading their safe space and they don't want any part of it. They just want you to go,
Right.
so
Yeah,
that they
I can
can
see this.
continue in this little bubble that's their safe space. The problem being, it's not their safe space, right? That's not actually a safe space. That's their brain lying to them, telling them this is safe, and it's not safe.
Oh, the irony.
Oh, the irony. Yeah. For real. So yeah, I think that kind of sums up isolation. They're going to withdraw more from social interactions. They're not going to want to go to parties, go to the movies. They're not going to want to go out to dinner. They're not going to want to go to a friend's house, have people over, things like that. And if you have, younger kids, and let's just say these younger kids like to play board games, that your person is not going to want to play board games. And unfortunately, if they do play, it's likely not going to go well. And I'm talking about in a depressive episode. So be mindful of all of these things because, well, like we've talked about, this is just part of it. You don't have to manage, you don't have to mom them, you don't have to manage their every move. But I think over time, as I've become very aware of what my husband's tendencies are when he is depressed, I'll just put it this way. I will never, ever ask my husband to play a board game, cards, anything.
Yeah.
With myself or my kids when he's in an episode. It will not end well. So, let's see, Laura.
What are some things then that you would recommend doing as a loved one when your person is depressed? Like, you're not going to pull them out that way. They're irritable if you try to go talk to them.
Right.
So what are some things that do work?
That's a great question. Because during a depressive episode, the person will also have trouble making decisions, remembering things. They'll have trouble concentrating. Their prefrontal cortex has been hijacked. We love that word. There's reduced activity in the brain, specifically in the prefrontal cortex. So decision making is off, focus is off, emotional regulation is off, right? All of those things are happening. So it's kind of like the things that you can do for depression, very similar to mania, in that like we don't want them making decisions. We don't want to put anything life-changing on the table. That's not going to happen. Any big financial decisions, nope, those are out the window. Any changes in where you live, where you work, none of that needs to happen. In fact, it's detrimental if you encourage them to make decisions like that or to do something along those lines while they're depressed. We would never encourage someone to do that while they're manic, right? We know that's a no-no.
Yeah, no, it's not going to work.
The hard part of depression is like you want so badly for them to feel better, to get up. And sometimes it's normal to think that like, if I could just get them to go play pickleball. I don't know where that came from. Probably because Zoe mentioned it earlier, because we don't play pickleball. But anyway, if we could just get them out of the house and get them to go do this thing that could be so much fun. It doesn't usually work that way. So as much as it's counterintuitive, as much as we would like to get them out of the bed and doing something like, let's get your juices flowing, let's get some, norepinephrine in your system, let's get some adrenaline move in. Like, it doesn't work that way. Especially not with my husband. And again, there's a scale, right? Like that could work for somebody who's depressed and has been feeling low for a couple of days, right? But if they are fully depressed and they're fully in this depressive episode, like you're not able to reach them. And there's no amount of begging and pleading that will allow them to like hear you correctly. Let me be clear, correctly, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So that part it's hard. I don't want to say to the people listening, like, encourage them to go do things, because it might work. It might not. I'll give you an example from when my husband was working and then when he's not working. So my husband being depressed while working at 10-hour days, so from Monday to Thursday, 6:30 to 5, he was able to go to work, masking, very, very heavily masking. He didn't have any responsibilities with the kids when they were little. I took them to school, picked them up, went to work. I would hear from him a couple of times a day, but by maybe a phone call, maybe a text message, more so texts. And in my opinion, the reason I heard from him was for him to maintain some sort of like normalcy so that I wasn't thinking something was wrong. So there's that part, right? But he would come home from work, and as he was coming home from work, he would stop by the gas station or the grocery store. He would get beer, whether that was a 12-pack or an 18-pack. It started with a 6, but grew over time. He would get stuff to make for dinner. He would come home, immediately start drinking. He would change clothes. Sometimes he wouldn't, but sometimes he did. Some days he would make the dinner. Some days he wouldn't. But the dinner was kind of this, use the analogy like a timeout timer for kids. The timer's the problem. I'm not the problem if I use this timer, right?
Yeah.
The dinner became that timeout timer for us. Well, I made dinner, so like, why do you think there's a problem? I was able to make dinner. So, masking, right? All masking while doing this and kind of showing me I'm going to work, I'm making dinner. Like, why are you on my ass about this? And I'm like, yeah, but you're not the same.
Right. Yeah.
And you're like a ticking time bomb, man.
Yeah.
Like the kids are playing, they're happy, and it's too loud and you can't handle it.
Yeah.
So he would then finish dinner. Sometimes he would eat, sometimes he wouldn't. Most oftentimes when he was really feeling depressed, he would not eat. That is a form of self-harm. To deny yourself food intentionally it's a form of self-harm.
Right. Sure.
And if we ever get him back on here again, he can speak to that a little bit more. But what I'm getting at is, like, in his mind, he believed he did not and was not deserving of nourishing his body.
Mm.
He didn't do anything to be able to eat. Like, he didn't deserve to eat. Okay. So there's something else that became this issue with us over time, because we would all sit down to eat and he wouldn't be there to eat.
Mm.
He would be in the garage drinking, doing his thing.
Mm-hmm.
So depression in that form, he was around, he was available, but he was not actually available, right?
Yeah.
Like, there was no making casual conversations or like, hey, let's sign up our kid for whatever. No, he would be like, if that's what you want to do. Or he would be like, why the hell are you bringing this to me? This makes no sense. Okay, we've got irritability, don't care, and then anger.
Yeah.
And I think depression can really hit people so quickly. And that's why we lose a lot of people when they're in depressive episodes. Take a drink, my mouth's dry.
For sure.
Because you can be participating in your life, participating in air quotes, but that participation level doesn't look the same.
Yeah.
So, and all of a sudden, you know, that person has gone from, in my case, like, I don't deserve to eat. And so you don't eat for several days on end, right? And then when you get to that point and you are now becoming more malnourished, and you're drinking alcohol, like, you are not thinking clearly. Like, your cognitive functions are in the dumpster. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
And so then you just make even worse decisions. I know a lot of listeners have asked us, and especially in the Facebook group, like, how do I get my husband to move out of this depressive area? Maybe he's not helping himself, or he doesn't look like he's doing anything to help himself.
Yeah, I think it's a big issue.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to touch on that. And this is harder to communicate, but I'm going to do my best, because I don't want to address this with kid gloves necessarily, but I want to be mindful of the spouse, the caregivers, the moms, the dads of the world who are witnessing these episodes in their person, because it's hard and it's frustrating as hell, because you can see your person, they're able to look at you, say, I love you, look at you in the face, and talk to, like, they're physically present, right? They are not delusional. They are not hallucinating necessarily in this, that we're talking about in this depressive episode part or piece. They are not running around or not trying to stay home. Like, my point is, you can access your person in this depressive episode, and all you see is them moving from either staying in bed to the bathroom, bed, bathroom, garage, bed, bathroom. Sometimes,
it's like going
maybe
through the motions of life without having any real quality to it.
Yes. Possibly going to work. And just so you know, like, your person is probably giving everything they can at work, because getting fired on top of how they currently feel is like the worst possible scenario. So they're expending a lot of that effort and energy if they're able to go to work, right? And then when they get home, they have nothing left in the tank. Nothing.
Right.
So all they can do is just sit or make it through that next step in the process of whatever your day looks like. But what I want to point out is, as frustrating as that may be for myself, I've been through it numerous times, and seemingly sometimes there's absolutely nothing. There's nothing I can say to get through to my husband, to get him to try to do something to help himself, right? you feel stuck and it's frustrating. I want you to know this. There are physical symptoms that occur when your person is going through depression. Okay. It's not just up here, right? Like I mentioned before, my husband has talked about it feeling like walking through mud up to his waist. That just means what your person is experiencing is literally like they have to muster up the ability, the energy, the willingness, the want to move one leg out of bed onto the floor, right? Move the other leg from the bed to the floor, and each leg weighs 300 pounds, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. And then we have to stand up, right? And so now we're trying to push ourselves up off the bed, and now we're trying to lift 400, 500 pounds, right? So then they have to walk. They have to take steps in that body that doesn't feel like their own.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to try to get one foot in front of the other. And in their mind, this is the game that's happening. I know I'm letting my spouse down. I know my kids are worried about me. I know my daughter, son, they're angry with me because I didn't make it to their soccer game, their football game. I have to do this. I have to take this step forward. And I don't want to do it. I don't want to be here. I just want to lay down because the thoughts happening in my head are so loud that I can't go to that Facebook. I can't look at them in the eye and let them see me in my current state because they're going, I'm letting them down even more, right? I'm not actually able to engage in these conversations with my kids or spouse or whoever. And that's, unfortunately, that's huge. You can't just stop these thoughts from occurring. Okay.
Right.
So as much as we want to get our people up and moving and feeling better, unfortunately, we're adding to that burden list by putting demands on them. So that counterintuitive part of managing mania, managing bipolar disorder still exists here. Like, hey, babe, can you help me with picking up Zoe from school tomorrow? My husband in the situation would be like, yeah, I can do that. Okay, he's going to tell me yeah, but he actually should tell me no because I can't expect him to do that. Actually,
Right.
I can't rely on him to do that because he's likely going to fall asleep and sleep right through it. That's happened several times. Learn the lesson. So I had to stop placing these other expectations on him because the moment he missed picking up our daughter, he felt 1,000 times worse because there she was left at school crying because we didn't pick her up.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So also during depression, you've got like headaches, joint pain, stomach aches. Your physical body is responding to depression. No different than with mania. You've got that nervous energy, those jittery hands, your speech is fast, your brain is, well, there's brain damage happening too, but with depression, typically their speech is slow. It's very, words are elongated. It's very concerning. The tone changes, just like with mania, the tone changes. And in my case, I typically hear the same phrases over and over again. So, or the same arguments over and over again, just like with mania. The same things exist. There's one specific phrase that I hear, which is like, you deserve better than me.
Oh.
And just, if you think about that, instead of just shrugging it off, if your person says this to you, if you think about what they're saying to you, it'll actually, I think, help you with, not being as frustrated and showing a little bit more empathy, because what they're actually saying to you is a reflection of what's happening in their head.
Right.
The thoughts that are happening in their head are telling them like, you don't need to be here. Like the person is thinking, I shouldn't be here. I can't give my person, my spouse partner, what they need. So they deserve better than me.
Yeah.
And isn't that just sad? It's like,
Yeah.
no, babe, you're just having a hard time right now. Like,
Right. How long do Jeremy's depressive episodes usually last?
great question. I would say anywhere from a month would be probably the shortest of short, for sure.
Oh, wow. Okay.
6 months would be a rough 6 months.
Okay.
So somewhere in the middle is typically average. But I want to point out that that 6 month long one that I'm referring to happened twice when he was over medicated.
Okay.
So I feel like if, like now with his current medication soup that he's on, if he's not able to move out of it in 6 weeks, you know, we would absolutely be back trying to get a prescription change. Because yeah, we're not letting it go that far. But yeah, 4 to 6 weeks I think is a pretty normal period of time for him. But that could also be 3 months is a normal time for him.
Yeah.
I think it really just depends on how active the person is in using skills and tools and therapy and medication management.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great question, though.
How long would it go before you considered maybe the meds need adjusting?
So I would be contacting his doctor on week 2.
Okay.
Hey, this is what's happening. Because in my experience, after about 2 weeks is when we can pretty much tell, okay, he's going to either move into a depressive episode or he's going to shift back out, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much his shift in baseline with depression. But if you don't have that knowledge, if you haven't tracked it, you don't know what that baseline is, like, it really depends on a few things. How long it takes to get in with the psychiatrist that your person is seeing,
Yeah,
right?
seriously.
And if it takes a while, you call on day 1 when you notice signs and symptoms, because
Sure.
it could be
Yeah.
3, 4, 5 weeks, right?
Yep.
Like before you're able to get in. You call on day 1. If you have somewhat of an idea, you know, then make sure the person's taking their meds. If they're not taking a mood stabilizer or an antidepressant, you know, call the psychiatrist, because that's obviously something that needs to be considered. And just, you know, have those conversations, those check-in conversations with them about how they're feeling, things like that. I'm going to say this, and I think this is really crucial. And I think a lot of people, especially in the Facebook group, feel like their hands are tied. If you are not on file, if you do not have the release of information on file with your person's psychiatrist, your hands are going to be tied when your person is in an episode, and they will not go to the doctor.
Yeah.
They won't, because psychiatrists will be there to help you. Not all, some. If your person refuses to go to the doctor and you do have an ROI on file, you can call that office, explain the situation, explain what's happening, and guess what? The psychiatrist can call in a new prescription or increase the dose of current medicine that they're taking, right? And you can try medication changes that way.
Mm-hmm.
Without it, you really you can't talk to them, and they're not going to talk to you.
Yeah.
And that's same for mania for sure. But yeah, psychiatrists will be hesitant to try a new medication during a depressive episode because, unfortunately, a lot of the side effects of antidepressants are what?
Mania.
And suicide risk.
Oh.
Yep. So they're very hesitant to do that. And if your person has tried a lot of medications in the past, they're going to be even more hesitant. But what they can do is increase the current dosage of the medication that your person is currently taking. Yeah.
Right.
If your person is not taking anything, that's a whole nother ballgame. This is why I think medication management initially after diagnosis is so important. This is before an episode starts, right? Which is not ideal from a medication perspective. If they are in an episode, specifically depression, and now we're trying new medications and they don't work, your person is going to eventually come out of that episode and never ever want to take medications again because they don't work.
Yeah.
Not true. It's not true.
No, definitely not true. Right. But that's what they're telling.
But that's their reality. That's their perception.
Yeah.
That's their experience. And it takes a long time to change that narrative, because I don't subscribe to this whole I can't convince him otherwise conversation. I'm not trying to convince him of anything.
Uh-huh.
I want him to understand his experience is his, and he has help if he will use it. He, however and whoever that may be. I'm not trying to convince him that how he feels is different.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to help him see that there are other options.
Yeah.
And that is really, really huge in the depression world, because we can't tell our people that you don't feel how you feel. Like, it can't be that bad, or your life isn't that bad, or I do all these things for you. Why do you feel like I'm not there for you? Again, it's not about you.
Yeah.
This is the illness.
Yeah.
It's telling him these things because that's what it wants, right? So we can't change that narrative. We can't convince them otherwise. All we could do is validate how they feel. That doesn't mean we validate the action or inactions that come with those feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And also, just a reminder, when you validate someone, that doesn't mean you have to agree with them.
Mm-hmm.
Validating the feeling means
Right.
you are saying, like, you acknowledge how they currently feel, right? I'm only going to acknowledge the feeling. I'm not going to acknowledge the inaction, specifically with depression, that's tied to it. And you celebrate all the wins. And I literally mean every single win, no matter how insignificantly small it may be. And there's a reason behind that. As we talked about a little bit ago, the negative self-talk that's happening during depression is a really, really, really hard thing to break, to stop, because there are so many thoughts happening and they're all bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if my husband changes his clothes, I'm celebrating that change of clothes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
babe, I am super proud of you. Like, I am so proud of you for feeling like you could get up and change your clothes. Like, that's huge. I am so proud of you. I'm not adding anything else. I'm not saying, how about tomorrow we do X, Y,
Right.
Z?
Uh-huh.
No, I'm
Yeah.
celebrating that win,
Yeah.
and that's where I leave it. That one celebration will inevitably release some serotonin, some good things happening. It's not going to immediately change anything, but it is going to, like, kind of put a bubble. It's going to put a bubble in there. And if I start celebrating all the wins, eventually that bubble will become a chain of bubbles, right? And these
Yeah, I
thoughts.
love that.
And it'll kind of like, boop, 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 just kind of like break up the bad ones, right? It
Yeah.
promotes positive self-talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter if they're like, I can't believe you're celebrating me taking a shower. This is something that's so normal or mundane. And I'm using that voice because that's my husband's voice when he does it. And I'm like, Aunt, I'm so proud of you for taking a shower. Like, I bought a balloon. I've said,
Aw.
congratulations, balloon, right? Anything positive. And further, if I'm being ridiculous about it, guess what he's going to do? He's going to laugh. If he's laughing and he's talking about something that is positive, that's better than him focusing and latching on to these negative thoughts that are happening, right? So I'm
Yeah.
celebrating them all,
That's so awesome. I love that.
every single one. Also, a win, a celebration, or a thing to celebrate with a win is like changing locations. So if he's on the bed for days, hours, whatever, and he goes to the couch, I am celebrating that. And it doesn't have to be this huge, how do I celebrate it without feeling ridiculous? I hope you feel ridiculous, because I promise you, you feeling ridiculous in that moment will make him feel a little bit better in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
I can handle being ridiculous. I got no problem feeling
Absolutely.
ridiculous. A high five, a go get his favorite drink, go get his favorite snack, his or her favorite snack, an ice cream sundae, something simple, right? It doesn't have
Mm-hmm.
to be this big or elaborate thing, but like, go get those things and you bring it to him while he's in that chair, and you're like, boom, I'm super proud of
Yeah.
you. You deserve a treat, or whatever, you just have to celebrate all the wins. And because if you don't, there's nothing motivating them to keep trying to celebrate the wins, if that makes sense. Like, I know
Right.
that's not a cognitive thought in their brain, but
Yeah.
like, it can become something that they look forward to.
Yeah.
Oh, my wife, my person who will be so proud of me today. Do you know what I did? Then there's excitement in their voice.
No,
Their
yeah.
tone changes. right? It's like when your first grader, second grader comes home and they're like, I got 100 on my spelling test. It's very similar. It's a very similar scenario. So celebrate all the wins.
Love
Celebrate all the
that.
wins.
Yeah. What would you say to the person, the partner, the spouse, the loved one who is just like, it feels like their illness is all encompassing and it's all about them? When is it ever going to be about me?
Great question. I think the hard truth there is this. It can't be about you when your person is in an episode.
Mm-hmm.
It just can't.
No.
Now, I will take time to do things that I need to do as well, right? Like I'm still going to work. I'm still talking to my friends. I'm still recording podcasts. I'm still doing what I have to do, right? So that's about me. But I cannot rely on my husband to be there for me emotionally when he can't even be there for himself emotionally.
Right.
I don't want to ask him to be there for me emotionally because the person that will show up for me, that's not who I want. I don't want that person showing up for me. Mm-mm.
Well, and I think that it comes down to too is like, again, you've educated yourself when you've taken the time to really listen and understand, first of all, what
Yeah.
bipolar depression is, and then second of all, how Jeremy experiences it, and then
Yep.
taking into all of that account. Yeah, it because it's similar, you know. So I mean, with mania, I can't have any of those expectations in mania. So it seems like I feel like, but it's easy to recognize because you're like, this person is clearly unwell. Where I feel like depression can be a little more, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like a little more, not elusive, but just like, come on, like get out of bed, like freaking help me do something, like do anything.
Yes.
And then if you do that, like what you just described, I can only imagine, like you just talked about those little bubbles. Like, so we have these negative bubbles, and then you just put in another negative bubble.
Yep.
And then from there, I could see more negative bubbles. Like I think that's like a good
Absolutely. That's
visual.
a great analogy. Yeah. Great
Yeah.
visual, great analogy because it is true. The illness is going to latch on to anything negative during depression, anything and everything. We don't want to add more negative bubbles to their brain at all.
Yeah.
And I know it's frustrating. But it works the same with mania. Like we're not going to match their energy. We're not going to have conversations about my emotional needs or my physical needs, or we're not talking about that because all that's going to create is more negative bubbles for sure. Which brings me to another point, which is like the sexual aspect, like the intimacy between you and your partner when they are depressed. It's not going to happen. If it does, your person is likely detached. It's going to feel weird. It's going to be awkward. And you're going to be like, what is happening? And I want to make this very clear for the listeners right here, right now. Take a deep breath. Listen to me. This is not about you. This has absolutely nothing to do with how you think your partner feels about you. It has nothing to do with your partner not being attracted to you, not being interested in you. It has nothing to do with you. Zero, zip. In fact, physically speaking, their parts are not going to work as easily.
Right.
Okay. It is not a reflection of you. This is wholly a reflection of the illness telling the person all of these lies. It has nothing to do with you. But there's a correlation here. It's not about you. And I'm making that very, very, very clear. Hear me, say it to yourself, write it on a mirror, put it in your calendar, make it pop up every day so you see it if that's what it takes, right? It's not about you. The illness is going to lie to your person, right? So if your person says, no, I'm not interested in you. I don't find you attractive. I don't want to get in the sheets with you. Like that's disgusting to me. That is also not about you.
Right.
It's not about you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you ever heard the phrase, it's usually said to help you feel better if you feel someone has slighted you, like not in this scenario, but in another scenario, but it made me think of it because it's applicable, but the way someone treats you says more about them than it does about you. And that doesn't have to mean that they're just a bad person or whatever. Like
right.
it has everything to do with you literally don't know what's going on with people. So even with mania, if someone, mania can be really ugly and nasty. But it still doesn't say anything about you. It's what's going on with them at the
Yeah,
time. And so trying to
absolutely.
depersonalize that is really hard, but necessary if you want
Yes.
to stay in a relationship with someone who has bipolar disorder.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, yes, yes. And a lot of times, your personal house chores or however you divide the responsibilities within your household, like obviously those are going to be neglected when your person is depressed. And usually, I think from a statistical perspective, I can't remember the source, but I looked at it a little while ago. Usually, it's the first thing that gets brought up as an argument when your person is depressed is the household chores that are not getting done.
Right. Yep.
Okay. So all of a sudden I have to pick up the slack and start doing these chores. I'm like, dude, can you not take out the trash? I
Right.
want to draw your attention to those household chores for a minute and show you one thing. If those are happening consistently, they're not happening, your person is not doing them. You keep having to consistently pick up the slack and you're not noticing, or you haven't noticed that your person has withdrawn or feeling some type of way that kind of falls into this category of depression. That's your sign. That is your sign that your person has moved from baseline and is not showing up, being responsible, and also not communicating to you. So when when Jeremy's at baseline, like if he's not able to do something, he's gonna be like, "Hey, babe, I'm so sorry. Like I wasn't able to do blah blah blah."
Right.
He's going to communicate that to me. Depressed Jeremy, it's not a thought. It's not there.
Right.
He's not thinking about it until it's brought up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I brought it up, and now I got a new negative bubble in there
Yeah,
swimming around,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And that kind of ties into this last part, which is like, in my experience with my husband, in really bad, really lengthy depressive episodes, it becomes very clear to me that he cannot heal in the place where he got sick. Okay. He is surrounded in our house, and I'm doing my best to keep things afloat, right? But it's inevitable. We have 2 kids. They blow go. They do whatever. We work. I mean, I work. Addie works. So he has to go to school. Groceries, dogs. We have a freaking zoo, right? It's inevitable. The things are going to get out of hand. Okay. So he sees that. He sees that every day. He sees the look in my eyes when I'm trying to reach him, but can't. He sees the kids trying to like not stay away from him, but not engage. Okay. He sees that and he can't change it. He can't fix it. The only thing that has worked for him has been treatment, has been a residential treatment facility or acute stabilization in the hospital. He has to get out of this house. He has to get out from what he's seeing every single day. It doesn't matter that he doesn't come out of his room a couple of times a day. He's living in it. He's in it. He sees it. He feels it.
Yeah.
He hears me doing all the cleaning. He hears me trying to change litter box. He's seeing it. And it just makes him feel so much worse. So if your person is kind of in that part where they're not able to like move in any direction, right? Like maybe they can't heal in the place they got sick. That's nobody's fault.
Yeah.
It's not your fault. It just is, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So they do the research. There's an episode, actually it was the interview that I did with Jeremy back last year. I think I don't know, who knows, the third one, who knows. Anyway, we talk about like trying to find a facility and maybe questions to ask, things to do, things that, that you want to make sure that you know of in advance to try to get your person into a treatment facility. That's all great and wonderful. If your person is showing signs of self-harm, talking more about intrusive thoughts, and maybe engaging and acting in self-harm behaviors, you simply take them to the ER. And then it will be up to the ER to coordinate next steps, right? The treatment facility, what it looks like. Do they have open beds?
Right.
Blah, blah. You don't have to take that on, okay?
Yeah.
You need to get them safe. And this is the same thing for mania that we talked about. Like your person may be pissed as hell that you are sitting there in the emergency room door, like you're sitting there in the car and the emergency room doors are right there. They are going to say the things that you never thought they'd say. The words coming out of their mouth are going to be terrible. But I will say this, I will die on this hill, which is they can be mad, but they're alive. What's worse is them not being mad, but they're dead. So you pick.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
That's
going to
powerful.
pick keeping you safe and keeping you alive every time, no matter how
Yeah.
pissed you are at me. Don't care,
Absolutely.
you know?
Absolutely.
So don't take chances, and just know that a depressed brain, just like mania, it's a manipulative brain. So if they start showing those warning signs, y'all take it seriously. I did it. Not that I didn't take it seriously. I did. But his last attempt, which was, holy crap, 2 years ago in 2 days, March 19th.
Oh, wow.
I knew it in my gut. I knew it in my gut when he told me, he said specific words when he left our house. He was going to go to get coffee and say hi to Addie. Addie worked at Dunkin' at the time. It was the way he said it, the tone. It was the lightness to his voice, which was forced, obviously.
Mhm.
And we had just had that conversation about getting up out of bed and taking a step, using our skills. So anyway, point being, in my gut, I knew something was wrong. I knew something was off, but I was trying to celebrate the win that he was up and
Right.
out of bed. Yeah. And that day is when he
Man.
decided to, not he, but the switch was flipped. And
Yeah.
the illness definitely took
So
over. So
scary.
don't hesitate. Don't
Absolutely.
hesitate. Get the help. And also reach out to your friends, your family. There's no shame in asking for help. And I mean this. I know it's hard. I know it just feels awful. This whole, like, I should be able to manage this on my own. What am I talking about? I'm talking about, like, by the time my husband goes into a treatment facility, like, my house is a damn mess. It is
I
a
bet.
wreck.
Right.
A wreck. Because my husband at times wants me to just be in there and just lay with him. Just lay
Oh.
with me and just hold me. Just tell me it's going to be
Yeah.
okay.
Mm.
Right? So I've neglected all the things to
Yeah.
try to do that, to show up for him. Right? So don't feel some type of way. I know you will, but try not to, and reach out for the help, because you're going to feel worse, and that energy will shift. It will come out. You'll become more frustrated. You get to that point where you're like, I don't know what to do with you.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to get there again, because I know that just makes things worse. So, like, phone a friend, call your mom. There's so many different organizations around that will help you, whether that's bringing groceries by or carting kids here or there. Sunshine Charity is one that just comes to mind. Cleaning services as well. If you don't want to go that route, call your best friend. Like, look, I'll buy you wine, pizza. I don't care. Just, I need help with the dishes. I need to do laundry, like something.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah.
I haven't done it as often as I should have. Do it. I regret not doing it.
Yes.
For
Because
sure.
that's going to help us maintain our composure so that it doesn't spill into making something worse with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow, we've touched on a lot. I feel like this is just the beginning of the conversation.
It's like
Again,
the
there's
tip
so
of the
much.
iceberg for you. There's
Yeah.
like so much
There's
underneath.
so much. There's so much.
Well, let us know in the comments. I mean, like, people who are listening, let us know in the comments, what maybe you want, like what resonated, what you wanted more information on, what you're struggling with. I mean, we're always open to topic ideas.
Yep.
If you're looking for support, we have our Facebook group, BipolarLines
Yep.
Pod, and we've got a lot of people active in there, and you can post anonymously, and a lot of people utilize that feature. So
Yeah, which is cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
And there's no judgment here. No judgment at all. We keep that group a safe place to not just vent, but also to look for advice or suggestions. So, feel free to reach out there. If you want to watch us do this fun thing called recording a podcast, we're on YouTube. So you can find us there. Same thing, BipolarLines Pod. You can find me on TikTok at break_the stigma, and Laura at the BP spouse on TikTok as well. And yeah, this is, like I said, this is just the start of the conversation with depression, but we're here. We're here to help as much as we can.
Yeah, that sounds great, Brooke. Thank you so much for sharing all of this, tips and things you've learned along the way. And just your
Yeah.
perspective, I think it's really valuable.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. And thank you all so much for being here, for showing up for your person, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.